especially for young people. And I know, like Ms. Marina said, this is not about like, some kind of like, slideshow or PowerPoint presentation. This is more like me learning about mental health through your lenses, basically. Like, tell me what you know, then, I can give you my 2 cents into what mental health is. And there's a young lady, I think her, or one of the young ladies back there, said something about being grateful about, because somebody asked her about this, how she's feeling. And I think she nailed it right there. And that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about, So if anybody can just tell us, like, what they understand, what mental health means to them. Like, anybody want to volunteer? Like, what does, when you hear the word mental health, because it's being loosely used around a lot lately. And I understand we have, high schoolers here and middle schoolers. If you're in high school, can you please raise your hand up? Okay. I kind of like scan your room. Yeah. So if you're in middle school, raise your hand. Okay. So I want to hear from high schooler lens, like what mental health means to you. Someone can volunteer, from middle school, and also what does mental health mean to you when you hear that word? What comes to mind? So should we go to the middle schooler first? And okay. So anybody from in the middle school, like what does mental health mean to you when you hear the word mental health? What comes to mind? How you feel, okay. It's part of it. Anybody else?
Being healthy.
Healthy? Okay. So from high school perspective, what does it mean to you?
It means how you feel internally, not
Okay.
physical.
How you feel internally and physical? Is that what you said? Okay. Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff that you guys said is right. Everything is right, But like when you talk about mental health, it's actually, when you're sick, for example, you go to the doctor, right? And because you're sick, but most of the time we neglect our mental health because we're not treating it as our physical health. And it's very important. It's the same thing. When you're sick, you go to the doctor, so we need to take time for our mental health. So when we say mental health, you're talking about, your emotional, your physical, your psychological, and also your social well-being as well. So those three things, they're very important when it comes to mental health. So when I say social well-being, so I want to really, zoom on that a little bit. So when I say social well-being, so can anybody tell us what social well-being, what I may be referring to, or what you think, social well-being is?
Your interaction with people.
Exactly, your interaction with people. That's correct, because you cannot not check on yourself, and those are some of the signs that you see. Because I've been asked, people ask me like, how do you know when you have like mental health issues, then or how do you know that I have like this problem when it comes to mental health, right? So those are the things that you need to check: your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, and your social well-being as well. So those three things, they connect. Then it leads me to like from high school, because I know that when you talk about like being overwhelmed, because you have lots of work, even middle school as well. You have lots of work, from school, even at home, and living in a in the kind of environment that we're growing up in, especially in the Nigerian community, where mental health is not something that we talked about quite often in our homes. And I think partly because it's a taboo in our culture, where you're told to suck it up. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not part of it, kind of thing, right? Or it could be that from my own research, I find that like the parents themselves, they don't even understand what it is about, what mental is about themselves, like the root cause of it, for them to actually, take the time out to understand what the children, what they are feeling themselves, right? So I want to pose this out to you guys again, right? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you want to say something badly at home, but the room is not there for you to talk to someone, within your immediate family? So have you ever feel like that, like you're in that situation? Okay, how many of you? Raise your hands. Don't be shy, nobody's like, just, I want you to be free. So that's why we're here. Raise your hand if you feel like, there's something that's, bothering me, that is of concern to me, that I want to talk about it so that, but, my living situation doesn't really allow me to come out to my parents or someone, to talk about it. So raise up your hand. I'm asking that question again. Okay, so I see the girls, raising. So is there any reason why the boys are not raising their hands? Or it just doesn't apply to them, period? It doesn't apply, okay.
No, that's I don't think that's a lie. It does
Yeah,
apply.
I know it does,
It definitely apply.
Concentrating too.
Oh, Mom, I just, I don't want you to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if I of course I don't believe that it doesn't apply to them. I believe that it's either you guys are shy, which is fine, or we are talking about the idea of the social pressure that is being put on male, that you're supposed to have that some kind of personal oh, I'm strong. I'm not supposed to be weak, mental health is not for me or that kind of thing, right? But whatever the case may be, it's always good to talk. That's why we're here. We're shining a light on this important topic, because it's something that we need to talk about. We hear stories of, young people taking their lives, and this is very common nowadays. It's actually very scary when you hear people of young age, 11, 12, taking their lives because, they've been internalizing things, that they can't talk about, with their family members or their close friends. So that's why I asked that question. So it looks like, I guess it's fair to say like half of the room said that they don't have that space in their household to talk about things that are bothering them. So what would you say, would be the ideal way to tackle this, from your own point of view? Anybody, volunteer to talk about that? From those people that are just that kind of stuff, right? You just feel like there's no safe space, within your family where you want to talk about something that's very important to you. So how do you suggest, this be handled? Or what do you think, on how to go about this? Anybody from those people that, or anybody else that they might have, suggestions regarding that? Yeah, go ahead.
So, parents should try to listen to their children's opinions sometimes.
So I want you to talk a little bit more about that. So what do you mean listen to their opinion?
Okay, so during the COVID stuff, most children were like, you don't have where to go to.
Because you're doing virtual school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to go to your friend's place, your parents now allow you to go.
Okay. Okay, so you want them to listen to what you have to say, basically. Okay, that's one. Anybody else?
Sometimes I just keep it to myself.
Why do you keep it to yourself? Is it because you're scared?
No.
Okay, so why do you keep it to? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Because I know they won't listen to me.
They will. So you just you just know that they won't listen to you, right? Okay. So why is it that they won't listen to you? Has something happened in the past, or it's just the way your household is designed? They just don't listen because you're a child.
There are some cases I tried talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the response.
I'm sorry.
There are some cases I tried talking to them, but the response they gave to me was.
It wasn't what you're looking for. Okay. So, anybody else? So I hear they just dismiss your idea. Basically they're just not willing to listen, right? Okay. So that's kind of similar. So, yeah. So I'll be right there. Let's listen to this right there.
Anytime you get in trouble, and you need to manage it, and then you gotta tell your parents that you didn't do it, and they don't listen to you, because they think you're lying.
Okay. Okay, so you just feel like, you're shut down. You didn't, allow you to express yourself. Is that it? But that's what, okay. You can guess? Okay, so you just like, okay, anyway, so what's the point, right? This is what you're gonna say, right? Okay. So you'll be given a paper, so just write, if you ever be in a situation, have you experienced something ever in your life where that will just lead to, like you just thought about like, oh my God, like, I don't even care, like I've reached that point, whatever, you know what I mean? I want, people write it down, don't put your name. So the idea of it is to just kind of like understand where all of you are coming from. You know what I mean? So you don't have to write anything, but if you feel like, you want to write something, you can write it down. So then again, I'm going to ask you guys again, I'm learning from you guys. Like, so when we say mental health, like, do you guys know some of the signs of mental health? Because it's very important to know the signs, because so if you yourself, you find yourself in that situation, or you know someone that they are showing those signs of mental health, you find a way to help them. So anybody know some of the signs of mental health? Okay.
Depression.
I'm sorry?
Depression.
Okay, depression is actually a type, one of the types of mental health. So like, if somebody is depressed, for example, so what are the signs that you know that, oh, this person is depressed? So what would you see in that person to make you say that, oh, I think that person is depressed? Or they have anxiety, those are the types of mental health. Or they have eating disorder. That's a mental health issue as well. And so what are the signs that you will say, okay, oh, I think I may have mental illness? And there's nothing wrong with it, because when you say, sadness, some of the questions that Ms. Marina asked, sadness, yeah, we are all designed to be sad, sometimes, but what we don't want is like, excessive or prolonged sadness that will prevent us from doing daily activities. So that's when we know, okay, something is wrong. You know yourself more than anybody else, right? If something is out of place, you will know that, okay, this is not me. What is going on with me? You know what I mean? So anybody knows some of the signs that they might be, we're looking like, oh, what is wrong with my sister or my brother or my friend? Like, they've changed, right? I started seeing this sign in them. So what could be the problem? Well, if we are familiar with these signs, then we can get them the help that they need before they spiral out of control. So anybody know some of the signs? What? Okay, talking to themselves, yeah. Any other signs?
Like if you have a friend that talks a lot and they start to become quieter.
They become quiet. Okay.
And then they don't talk with you.
They don't sound like something else. Yeah. So any other signs that you might notice in yourself or people that you know? Do you have something to say? Okay. So some of the signs, it varies, like she said, or somebody said that, okay, you know a friend that's very talkative, like they talk a lot, and all of a sudden you just see them that they withdraw, like they don't want to deal with anything like that, right? Okay, something is wrong with her. What is wrong with this friend, right? And another sign could be that, okay, this person, I'm not sleeping well enough at night. I'm not eating very well anymore. I'm suddenly like, being fearful, like, excessive fearness of things that just doesn't make sense. I have this, recurring bad thoughts in my mind. That the person says, oh my God, you can't believe, a friend that's very close to you, or your sibling can come to you and say, oh, you won't believe this. Like, I keep having this, negative thoughts that this, do this, do that. So those are some of the signs like, okay, maybe we need to get this person help. And there's so many different things that can trigger this kind of, instances. So anybody know what could trigger somebody to have depression, for example, or anxiety? Like, eating disorder. So anybody know any factors that can trigger it?
Being humiliated.
I'm sorry?
Being humiliated.
Being humiliated, yeah. So bullying, right? Okay.
Losing someone that's important to them.
Yes, losing to someone that's close to them. If you study that in the family, somebody close to them, they die, someone might not be able to know how to handle that stress that comes with that. Because we have our limits, right? And if you are given something that's just beyond that, some people can just snap, and that can trigger that. Anything else? So environment also. We're talking about home, right? So oh, I'm not being listened to at home, right? I have ideas, but I've been shut out of what I want to say. My opinion doesn't count at home. So that could be a factor as well, because this person might feel like, okay, I'm not worthy, right? Because in my own home, I'm not even being regarded as anything, right? So those things can trigger, mental illness, right? And another thing is genetic, right? So that's why I know in Nigerian culture, our parents usually don't talk about, family history, medical history, right? So genetic is another way. So that's why it's very important to ask questions of your parents, what kind of medical history that we have in the family. So this way, that maybe you have a predisposition for this thing, right? So that you have to take care of your mental health. That, okay, I will pace myself. Maybe I will do chemistry, for 1 hour. I'll take a break, then I'll play whatever works for you. So you have to find that balance, basically. Find that balance between your school life, your social life, and your family life. Does that make sense? And if you guys are, you have those feelings, or you just feel like, okay, I'm being neglected, you should have someone in the community. I just hope that, this won't be a one-time thing. I hope you guys will continue, a space where, they will come. Sometimes, I told her yesterday about this as well, that, they can come and talk about this stuff, because then maybe we can talk to parents, so they can hear what the kids are saying. So, I want to, I want volunteers, and I wanted to ask if you guys, if I give you a scenario, how would you handle it? So example, if I have a friend, or you have a friend, let's call this friend Sandy. Sandy, her father died recently, and you just noticed that, she was straight A student before the death of her father, right? And all of a sudden, she doesn't want to come to school anymore. And so, even when she comes, she just she's there, but not there, basically. So, as a friend, so would you say that, Sandy just need a couple of weeks to get over the death of her father, or she has some issues brewing that we need to be concerned of? So what would you, or how would you approach that as a friend of Sandy? Okay. I'm sorry? Ask her how she's doing. Make her what? Talk about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about it. I like that, and that's the reason why we're here. It's very important for us to talk about it. It's okay for us to have that mental health day. Everybody, we all go through it. We all feel that sadness, we're happy some days we're sad. Maybe the day didn't go well as planned, and that's totally fine. It's okay not to be okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But what we don't want is when it's prolonged, that you cannot get out of it. That's when that, we're okay, maybe I need to seek help, because I can't get out of, the way I'm feeling. It's going on for too long. Yeah, so we have Sandy talk about it. So what's going on, and maybe we need to get her help before it gets to the point where Sandy wants to commit suicide, take her own life, because she can't just see a way out because she lost her father, so, and so that's where we come in. It could be a sibling, not necessarily a friend. So imagine that happens in our family. So how would we handle it, with our own sibling? So another scenario would be, you have a friend or your sibling, that's very bubbly, very, sociable, and, friends always come to your house to see that sibling of yours, and Okay, suddenly everybody stopped coming, she won't come out of her room, and, so how would you characterize that? And you try to like, talk to her, she just like, shut everybody out. So how would you characterize that? Like, whatever is wrong with that, your brother or sister, your sibling. So how would you characterize that? So would you say that, okay, just leave her alone, she just need a minute, or okay, maybe something is wrong, mom, dad, we need to look into this, let's, get her help or whatever situation. So how would you characterize that? Any volunteer? She needs help, okay. So what would you say is wrong with her? Like, would you say that, maybe she's depressed, or she has like, anxiety, or what is it?
She's sad.
She's sad, okay. Anybody else? Her friends, okay. So,
Afraid or depressed.
her friends what?
Or depressed.
Or depressed, yeah, okay. Huh?
I think she's
Depressed, okay. Mhm.
tired.
She's tired? Okay, yeah, it could be, yeah, it could be. So the first thing we need to do, like, just learn the root cause. What if she was bullied? Maybe she was bullied by her friends, right? We don't know. And, kids now are very, very, very slick in hiding, stuff. Especially now that, and how many people here has a cell phone? Yeah. Or how many people here, they have like, social media accounts? Yeah. So that's, most of the time, that's where it all starts, right? Maybe she was bullied online in one of the platforms that she belongs, right? That nobody knows, that she kept to herself, right? And that's part of, what mental is, because, she might end up like, maybe depressed from whatever she was said to online, right? What was said to her online. Or she might start, starving herself or cutting herself. That's another form of mental, like, just to like numb the pain. And that's another thing. People have different way of, coping, like coping mechanism. So people use abuse substance, drugs, and people they'll cut themselves to numb that pain, whatever it is that they're going through. And people, I've had clients before where the parents were home and it's part of this shutting down thing. The child left, a suicide note. She killed herself in her bedroom because, she was bullied on one of those platforms and nobody knew about it in the house, right? She just couldn't take it anymore. So it was after the whole thing that they discover, all of everything that happened, like, so you have to be careful. I know, social media is a big thing. Everybody wants to be on there, but it's evil as well. So you need to be smart on how you use them, right? So that's why I talk about the balancing, right? You have to balance your school life, social life. You have to have social life. It's very important, right? And family life. It's about balancing all of this stuff because they all go hand in hand. If one is lacking or missing, then it's going to affect the rest. It's like a domino effect, basically. So you have to balance. If you have problem balancing it, then you have the youth coordinators here. They can help you. You just need to talk to someone. Not talking to anybody is not even an option. It's not an option. You have to, we all have our moments sometimes where we have those things build up. We don't want them to build up. So as they come, find someone that you trust, that you can talk to, about this stuff, that that, okay, whatever I tell this person is safe. Nobody else needs to hear about it, right? So it's safe, whether it's your parents, and if you feel like your parents are not listening, then you should be able to trust someone else, right? Your sibling or the youth coordinators in the community. Just have the, okay, this is gonna be between you and I, Allah is your witness, right? Then that, okay, this person I can talk, when you talk about, you feel good. Trust me, it feels really, instead of just keeping everything in, because when you keep them in for so long, then you just reach that point where, you're like, oh, okay, I can't take it. You just erupt. And we don't want to get to that stage because anything can happen if we get to that stage. So the main thing is to talk about, it's okay to talk about it. And if you guys want to talk to me personally, I don't mind giving them my phone number. If you feel like, okay, well, I don't want to talk to them, I can talk, you can call me. But don't just call me 2 a.m. in the morning, then as long as you talk to someone, I don't care. The main idea is to talk to someone about whatever it is that you're feeling. Because at this age and in this kind of environment that we're growing up now, the societal pressure is just too enormous, right? You guys are so pressured from school, grades, and all of that. I understand that. So that's why we are having this conversation right now. So to be able to ease some of this, pressure that you guys have. And one of the ways, or one of the main ways to do that is, to talk about, this stuff. So I don't know if anybody has anything to share with the group in terms of, what they've seen in school, or they've heard about, someone, about whatever they're going through when it comes to mental health. Does anybody have something to share about that, regarding that? Okay. So we're gonna go pray, Ishai, then we're gonna come back, and we will continue. So before we leave, does anybody have any questions so far, regarding what we've been talking about, mental health in general? Any questions? Yeah.
So how do you help someone that's depressed?
How do you help someone that's what?
That's depressed.
That's depressed? You just, you need to get them help by contacting a professional, right? So they need to probably talk to, depending on the nature of their problem, right? They probably need to talk to a professional. Like I always say that medication is not the first thing every time, giving them medication. So if they might need to go to counseling, then depending on the severity of their case, they might end up, being on medication. But, usually counseling is the first, just to understand, to unpack what led them to that, where they are at that point. Okay? Any other questions? So should we go now and come back? So we're gonna pray, Ishai, then we're gonna come back, inshallah.